Hello and welcome to episode 116 of Onion Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Torridon, and I'm joined by Mariella in the corner.
Hello.
In the corner over there.
Again?
Yeah, again. So I'll start off with a joke.
All right.
Okay. I heard a really good time travel joke yesterday. I messed that up, didn't I? I heard a really good time travel joke tomorrow. Do you get it?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I'll try this one instead. I've got a device to fetch futuristic herbs.
Futuristic herbs.
It's a time machine.
Ah, good one. Very good. Cheeky. Mm-hmm.
Good, isn't it? Spelt T-H.
T-H-Y.
Time machine.
Time machine.
Yeah, there you go. Right, so we're going to be talking about some really deep stuff today. Dreams, DMT and interdimensional travel. But we're going to start off with something a bit more mundane. Twitter. What the hell's happening on Twitter at the moment? So, as you probably know, he's gone and changed. Elon Musk owns Twitter now, doesn't he?
Yes.
And he bought it for several tens of billions of dollars. But then partway through the sale, he decided he didn't want it after all. But he wasn't allowed to pull out of it. So they forced him to buy it against his wishes in the end. That's how I understand it. And it just, I don't know, it just seems at the moment like Twitter, all these changes that he's making to Twitter, it's like he's destroying it.
Well, he's, pulling it apart and then sort of replacing it with something else.
I don't even know if
but even if he's doing that, it's just...
I don't even know if he's doing that at the moment. I mean, he's just basically taken Twitter as it was and whacked an X icon at the top, which I think looks really crap, if I'm honest. I think what he should have done, if he was going to create an X app, which his idea for an X app is that it's the everything app. So it does social, it does video, audio, all that kind of thing. But he wants an app that also allows you to pay for things and shop for things, and basically a financial app that allows you to conduct all your sort of day-to-day financial...
I don't know how comfortable I'd be with that, but...
I don't know either.
Given how crazily he's managed the app itself and the process.
Yeah, well, like, for example, the ads, apparently the people that are on board with advertising at the moment, you know, you get like a payout every so often.
Yep.
He was supposed to be making a payout on the 29th of July, and he's put out an email to all the advertisers saying that they're not able to pay on time. It's not a good look, is it, for a
billionaire?
Or for an everything app that is going to eventually be a financial app. I think that's really poor. But I don't know. I just keep looking at this. Like, I'm looking at Twitter, yeah? Like, I'm looking at it now. And it basically still looks like Twitter. It's still got all the blue, like, it's got a blue post button, which used to say tweet.
But then it still says tweet. If you look up somebody's profile or even your own profile.
Yeah, it still says tweet or tweets or whatever.
And I'm just like...
I mean, it's slowly he's kind of removing Twitter from things. Like, I subscribe to the Twitter Blue, so I've got like a blue check mark. Mm-hmm. And that used to be called Twitter Blue, but now it's just called Blue, which is weird. Why is it not called X Blue? I don't know. It's just, there doesn't seem to be any sort of continuity across the...
That's it, yeah.
Across the app. It literally looks like he's just taken the X icon and slapped it at the top.
Says, there you go, I fixed it.
It's really bad. And I put a poll up earlier on my Twitter. Are we still going to call it Twitter?
Yeah.
I've not had many reply yet. I've only had sort of about 10 votes. But... they've all said yes, they're going to continue calling it Twitter.
Oh, good, I'm not the only one.
So it's like, what's the point? Well, I wondered if we should call it X-Itter. How would you pronounce that? X-Itter. X-Zitter? Sounds like an acne cream.
Yeah.
Zitter. Yes, sounds like something you'd...
Yeah, squeeze out.
Yeah, someone's actually put that on there.
Yeah, saw that. It's very clever.
Exeter, and someone has said, funnily enough,
Someone, yep.
yeah, you, the letter X is pronounced SH in Maltese.
So
Shitter. Well, it is. It is shitter than it was. And then I suppose we're going to be doing like sheets.
yeah.
Instead of, it's crap. Honestly, it's had no thought gone into what I would have done, because I'm a web developer. What I would have done if I was Elon Musk, I would have copied all the code onto a development server, made all my changes on that, and like really, really change it. So like the branding is there, the X brand, really make that X stand out, you know, like on the black or something like that. I'd have done, I mean, at the moment you've got like a mishmash of things that are square. Like the X logo is very square,
round,
instead of curved like the Twitter bird used to be. But then you've still got like these like really curvy buttons and curvy corners to the boxes. And I'd have squared everything off. Go with if you're going to go with a square logo like X, square everything off, square the buttons off, make them black.
Exactly.
Or you said like a dark charcoal grey.
Yeah. So that it's not just black on black on black, you know.
Yeah. That's what I would have done. I'd have taken it offline. I'd have totally redesigned it so it looks different. I'd have changed that side bar on the web where it's got like home, explore, notifications. I'd have changed that to the key areas that X is going to be. So like X social, X pay, X shop, etc., whatever. And then you go into the site and then you just click on which section you want. That's what I'd have done. And then what I'd have done, I'd have sold Twitter, got my money back, and then launched X directly afterwards as a competitor to Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah. Or just keep them both.
Or keep the two.
Keep them both.
But it's like we've got this sort of zombie Twitter X Frankenstein kind of botched together. It just feels rubbish, you know? Apparently I think at one point there was 28% of people on the App Store had given it a 1-star rating from when Elon took over. The 1-star ratings went up to 28%.
Wow.
And since he's put the X on, it's gone up to 50% 1-star ratings for the app.
Oh, no.
It's not good, is it? But then I suppose he's a billionaire. Doesn't really matter, does it?
Take calculated risks.
So I'm thinking, I've been looking at Threads, which is the Instagram version, and I read on 9to5mac.com this week, they're saying that over the next 2 weeks or so, they're going to add a web version, which will be useful, and advanced search. And I think if they start, I mean, they already offer 500 characters per post rather than 280 that Twitter's giving you. If they were to offer like a full form posting option, because I like the full form, I like to be able to blog on Twitter. Yeah. That's why I've got my blue badge.
Yes.
If they were to offer that and they were to offer the option to edit, I think I'd move over to Threads.
Well, I've not signed up yet, so I'm just like, I've got enough social media.
I probably wouldn't do both. I mean, I would still post to Twitter, but I think I'd make Threads my main place for putting stuff on. So if you're on Threads and you already follow me on Twitter or Shitter, whatever it's called, go and follow me on. Here's a promise: if you follow me on Threads, I'll follow you back. How's that for a promise?
You go. Same handles.
Same handles. I have many layers and at Onion Unlimited. Both of those. I'll follow you back and I'll carry on following you as long as you behave yourself. How's that?
Sounds fair.
Sounds fair enough. Yeah, so that's so I put a poll up online asking what do we think is actually going to happen to Twitter. And I gave my followers three options. It's going to become the everything app of Elon Musk's dreams. It's going to revert back to Twitter, or it's just going to implode. What do you think the top answer is so far?
Revert back to Twitter.
Yeah. I think so. I think eventually that little blue bird is going to come back. Yeah, I miss the bird. I like the bird. It was good.
It's very cute.
Well, Twitter and tweets and tweeting, it's become part of our vocabulary, hasn't it?
It has.
You know? It's, but there you go. Elon Musk, if you're listening, stop messing up Twitter.
Or hire Dan to fix it for you.
Or hire me to come and fix it for you. That's the other thing as well. He's like, what was it this week? He was saying, is it San Francisco they're based in, or
no idea?
Not sure where it is. Wherever it's based, he was saying about all the people that have been recently leaving the San Francisco area, and he's like saying that people should stay in the area, you know, for jobs and all this sort of thing to keep the economy going. But he's just gone and fired like half of his workforce.
Exactly. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, mate.
Have you heard about the big X as well? He had a massive X put up on the top of the Twitter building. Well, the first thing was he tried to take the Twitter sign down outside the building, and they started removing it. But then the people that were taking it off with the scaffolding, they'd not got the correct permits to actually have the scaffolding on the sidewalk. So they got halfway through it, and then the police came along and said, you can't do that. So they ended up with a sign that said "Itter." That was the first crappy thing that happened. Could be anything. And then he went and put a massive, great big X on the roof of the building that lights up. And they were getting loads of complaints from like neighbours and that, saying that it was sort of ruining their sleep and
the view
and all this sort of thing. And again, they'd not sort of considered the health and safety of having this massive, great big X on the top of the building. So that's been taken down now as well. It's just like a disaster, isn't it?
I think
it's like he hasn't thought anything through.
No, it's just that I have the money and I can do it, so why can't I do it?
Wasted time and money, and
which is a shame.
I don't know much about Elon Musk, but when I look at him, I wonder if he's got like sort of ADHD, or that's not a criticism.
No.
I just wonder if he's got that sort of like.
I would say he's neurodivergent, definitely.
He's definitely a genius. I mean,
definitely.
No doubt about that.
Definitely.
No doubt about that.
But yeah, there's something he's just different. The way he views.
Don't get me wrong. I like him. Yeah. I actually like listening to Elon Musk. I think he's a great guy. But I just look at the way he's going about this Twitter thing, and I just think, God, what?
Yeah.
It's like, it literally is like he just bought the thing, tried to pull out, ended up with it, and he didn't really want it, and now he's just sort of mucking around. Maybe I need to be more patient with Elon Musk. We'll wait and see. Right, moving on. That was my little xylophone noise. Did you hear that?
I did.
Moving on. I've been a bit discombobulated today.
You have.
I have. I was telling you this morning that the last 3 nights I've had some really deep dreams, and they've been. Do you ever get those dreams where you're kind of you wake up and they've been so realistic and a little bit disturbing, and it just leaves you the next day not really knowing if you're kind of actually in this world or the dream world still?
That's happened to me before. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Definitely. I can't describe it. Also, knock the microphone. Sorry, people. I can't describe what it feels like, but I do know what it feels like because I've experienced it.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. So I'll tell you about my dreams that I've had. So the last few nights, I've dreamt about being back at my old job, which was at Gamston Airport in the UK. So I was there for quite a few years. I think it was about 11 years I worked there. Might not have been that long. 9 years maybe. I'm back at Gamston Airport working in the offices there, and I'm moving these desks around. I'm always moving a desk around in my dreams and trying to organise my office. And for some reason, I've like decorated my office in yellow, so everything's yellow. So like the walls are yellow, and the desks are yellow, and the chairs are yellow, and all the filing cabinets are yellow, which is really weird. And then I go out of my office into the hangar, and then, you know that scene in Interstellar where they go on the water planet?
Yes.
It's like, in my dreams, I'm constantly met with like huge oceans of water, And they're not really
wow.
deep. They only come up to sort of, like my knees. So I can walk through them.
Yeah.
But it's just like huge, vast expanses of water that I'm walking through. And in this particular dream, last night, I think it was, I walked through this water, past this big hangar, which had been destroyed by an aircraft crashing into it. So sometimes I have this dream where these aircraft just fall out of the sky.
Wow.
We did have a couple of accidents at Gamston, one particularly horrific one where a helicopter took off, and when it was about 70 feet off the ground, the pilot wasn't used to that particular helicopter, and I think the controls were reversed or something.
Oh my goodness.
And
A bit like driving a Volvo.
it was back to front, and she went into like a right-hand turn to move away from the hangars, and it didn't. It went into a left-hand turn, and it smashed into the hangar. And I remember hearing the noise, and my mate John Swain, if you're out there listening, I'm trying to make contact with John Swain, and I don't know where he is. I've looked for him. I used to like John. But John heard the noise, and he was like, I know what that is. And I remember him almost jumping a whole flight of stairs down into the hangar.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how he did it. And then he just rushed towards this plane, towards this helicopter. I ran out with him. A few of the other lads did. And it almost happened in slow motion. This helicopter was like stuck on the edge of the hangar. And then it just dropped to the ground. And then, in the movies when they just explode into a ball of flame, that happened.
Wow.
And you could see the pilot and the guy with her in the passenger seat, and like it was just horror on their face in this ball of flame. And my mate John, I mean, he didn't even stop to think. He just ran into the flames. Wow. And he was a big lad, really big, stocky lad, and he just put his elbow through the glass bubble.
Yes.
There was another guy there called Dave Todd. I don't even know if Dave's alive now. He was about my age. This was back 30 years ago. He got down on the ground, and he was like untangling their feet from the controls, which were all mangled up. And then John lifted the two guys, the girl and the guy, out through the canopy, one on each hand. He was really strong as an ox. John was.
And I suppose adrenaline then gives you the strength that you need to do what you've got to do.
Yeah. I mean, there was another guy called Kevin who actually ended up getting not sure if it was a medal or something. I can't remember what Kevin, I can't even actually remember what Kevin did. Kevin was a lovely guy, but he did something and he got praised for it. John didn't, Dave didn't. And then Damien, the other guy, shot off and got the fire truck and came and put it out. And they ended up with like huge burns all over them. They survived.
Wow.
Yeah. But that was a bit traumatizing, if I'm honest. And at the time, I didn't know first aid. I went on to become a first aid trainer.
Okay.
But at the time, I didn't know first aid. And when I saw it, I just froze. Literally did not know what to do. And someone screamed at me, go and call an ambulance, yeah?
Yeah.
But I was like, ambulance and fire brigade sort of thing. But so I don't know if sort of that's had a traumatic effect on me, because that I'm always having these dreams about helicopters and planes and things dropping out of the sky and blowing up into balls of flames. Have you got anything on? Because we're big believers that dreams have meanings, don't we?
We are. So just quickly, walking through water can represent a search for spirituality or signals that you feel peace and contentment.
Both. Yeah, I feel peaceful and contented.
Yay.
And I'm always looking for the next spiritual level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does yellow mean anything?
Yellow, I'll have to look that up.
Yellow was quite unusual because I haven't had yellow in my dreams before. Normally I have red a lot. I always have this red car in my dreams. And quite often I'm not in control of the car for some reason. That was in my dream. The other night, 3 nights ago, I had a dream that I was at my mum and dad's old house, which my sister and brother-in-law now live in. And there was all these cars like parked up around the, in the drive and in the back garden, the front garden, everything. And I've got like multiple cars. I own all these different cars, a little Mini and a great big Pajero and an old Escort and all these sort of things, yeah. And a lot of times in my dreams, I drive my cars, I park them up somewhere and then I forget where I've put them.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with my mum saying, I think my dad's gone and sold all my cars. Like he's sold my Mini and he's sold my Escort and he's just gone and sold my Pajero. And I'm not very happy because I didn't get to see any of the money. My mum is constantly showing up in my dreams. So she was at the airport the other night. I went into an office and demanded to be paid because I'd not been paid since January in this dream. That happens a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm constantly going to work for this company and never getting paid, whatever that means. And then John said to me, me and some of the other lads, we're like jumping ship and we're going to go to a new airport and we want you to come with us. So I was walking with John around this airport and this is where it got a bit horrifying. There was this mound of like mud. And as we're walking along, I spotted a hand in the mud, sticking out of the mud. Oh, and as I got closer to it, I saw this like face and there were like all these dead bodies in the mud. And I tried to make a phone call. Have you ever had that in dreams or you're making a phone call and the phone won't work?
Or I can't speak.
Or you
Nothing's
can't speak.
Coming out of my mouth.
That's it, yeah. I get like, I'm trying to dial 999 and I just can't get a signal and someone was shouting, put an extra 9 in. And I couldn't get through.
You're in Australia now. You should be dialing 000.
000. That's probably why I couldn't get through. And the phones melt in my hands in my dreams.
Or the numbers sort of.
Or the numbers blur.
I get that too.
That's weird. Yeah. Or the phones like elongate or shrink, and it's just weird. In the end, I managed to get through on this dream phone, and the person on the other end was Spanish or something. And I was shouting, we need the police. We found all these dead bodies buried in the mud. We need the police. And I wasn't sure whether they could understand me or not. But my mum was there saying, look at the mud. Look at the mud. Yeah.
Pointing it out to you.
Pointing out to me.
Because you wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
Look at the mud. And I'm like, what's with the mud? Oh, shit, there's all these dead bodies in the mud. Mm. But she's always in my dreams. And I don't know what's going on there. It's weird, isn't it? What have you found? Anything?
I did find one. Hang on. I'm trying to
I used to have
do
a
this
dream,
massive search of everything.
When I was a kid, I used to have a dream of a sidewinder snake going through the desert on the sand. Mm-hmm. And it just used to loop all night long. That was the dream. And my sister had the same dream. That was strange.
Wow.
I told her about my dream in the morning. She said, I dreamt the same thing last night.
Wow.
That, isn't it? She probably can't even remember that now. What have you found? Anything?
Yellow,
the colour yellow in dreams. What does that mean?
Indicates that happiness and satisfaction will dominate your affairs in the future.
That's good.
That's a good start. However, desks.
Yeah, what's that all about? I have these dreams where I'm just constantly moving desks around.
The desk symbol may represent a bad or negative future.
Oh.
It may portend the death of a close family member.
Yeah.
Or a difficult situation in the workplace.
Well, do you know what? I'm actually expecting at some point my dad will die. Because my dad's like 85 now. He never expected to live past 40, to be honest. He was always saying, I've not got long in this world.
Poor love.
Yeah, he's 85, and it's sad because, like, obviously, because he's a Jehovah's Witness and he has no real contact with me. I will never really get that kind of closure with my dad. You know, like when he dies, that's kind of, that's it. That's it, really. In some ways, I think it's helpful that I've moved to Australia.
Yeah. Because
if he died and I was literally only down the road from the Kingdom Hall, That would be well. I'd already thought if I was in the UK, I wouldn't go to his funeral. Not because I don't love my dad, but just because if I went to the funeral, I'd be in a Kingdom Hall, which I don't really want to go in a Kingdom Hall again. or bad memories of Kingdom Halls in general. And you'd be shunned. You'd be at your dad's funeral and people wouldn't talk to you.
Yeah.
You know? So I just sort of thought, don't think I'd really go.
Unlike here, where disfellowshipped ones will actually sit up the front of the Kingdom Hall and expect to be hugged, and they will be hugged.
Yeah, I think you might get maybe an elder or two.
Like droves, and you're just are you for real?
You wouldn't get that. You wouldn't get that in the UK.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get in the UK. Very strict on that. No sort of outward displays of, and they're British, so the stiff upper lip and all that sort of thing. Anyway, but I'd want to sort of be there to support my sister.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that there's now 10,000 odd miles between me and my family, I think in some ways that makes it a little bit easier if and as and when that time comes.
Makes it easier to make the decision whether to be there or not, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 27-hour flight away sort of thing, and there you go. What else have you found on dreams? Anything?
Is there anything specific about your desks?
Desks.
Any colours? Is it nearly
they're just
painted?
wooden desks with drawers, and one of these desks I'm moving around was sort of really crappy with loads of paint, peeling paint on it, red and white.
And they were inside, outside?
They were inside, and I was dragging them from one office through to another. Yeah. Yeah. Dreams. What do you think about dreams?
Dreams.
See, I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute about interdimensional travel, because I think dreams are as real as this world. But I think what's happening in your dream world, you're tapping into another dimension. We're coming back to the old multiverse of madness again with Doctor Strange.
I mean, I think in some cases they are. I'd hate to think that in every instance that those things are actually happening somewhere in the universe.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Right. So when it comes to, have you got anything about desks, by the way?
Not really.
Nothing about that.
No. Just your obstacles will be cleared.
Obstacles will be cleared. Let's talk about interdimensional for a minute, and then we'll come back to this DMT drug thing in a moment. So I've got this theory, and it's not a particularly unique theory. Other people with greater minds than mine have thought this before. Physicists and theoretical scientists have come up with this idea that at every point in time, every possibility exists for the next moment in time. Yeah. So it's a little bit like, use an illustration. If you drive to the end of the road, there's ultimate possibilities. You can turn left, you can turn right, you can go straight on, you can crash into the car that's coming around the corner. You can decide to turn around and go home, whatever, infinite number of possibilities. Now, I'm very aware of the fact that I have a consciousness, and I am kind of directing this vehicle, this body, through this dimension. And I make choices. I go to the end of the road, I turn right, I turn left, whatever. But all the other possibilities were there. I could have taken any of those possibilities, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I think my consciousness the consciousness I'm experiencing takes a particular route, and that's like collapses the waveform. That's the sort of terminology that's used when it comes to quantum mechanics, isn't it? Where the indeterminate principle, where any possibility exists, but then you choose one, or you observe one, let's say, and the waveform collapses, and that becomes your reality.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening with my consciousness. As I'm going through my life, I'm sort of navigating these kind of infinite possibilities, and I'm choosing.
Yeah.
and that becomes my reality. But I think the other options also exist. I think there's probably like infinite versions of my consciousness that branch out into those other possible routes, possible paths through time and space.
Yeah.
And they're just as real. I don't experience it because my instance of consciousness is constantly being updated with the particular branch that I've taken. But I reckon there's a version of me in all those other possibilities that's just as real and feels just as conscious as I do in this one. So if that was the case, I think it's completely possible that there's a universe where my mum, for example, still exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, my mum died in 2015, I think it was, in this conscious experience.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily mean that
doesn't necessarily mean in all the other dimensions that she still, or possibilities that she still exists, that she doesn't exist. So, but in all those other dimensions where she does exist, they've all branched off from the experience I had of my mum at some point, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
She's
makes sense.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So if you have a connection with somebody, a strong connection with somebody, your mum, your dad, your wife, your children, whatever, it strikes me that even if they die in this universe, the instance that exists in another parallel dimension probably still has that strong connection to you.
That makes sense. It does make sense, yeah.
And like you say, there probably are dimensions where there are weird things going on, you know?
Yeah, I know, but I would hate to think that...
Well,
some of the dreams you have...
But according to quantum mechanics or quantum physics, everything is possible, isn't it?
That's true, yeah.
All
potentialities.
All potentialities are possible, you know?
Yeah.
So I just wonder whether, like, you know, people put a lot of thought into, like, time travel, don't they? Let's build a time machine where we can go forward and backward in time. I think where we should be concentrating our efforts is interdimensional travel.
Yeah.
Jumping between these quantum branches, our reality and alternative realities. That's where I think, and I think the answer, if you were looking for the answers, it would be within dreams. Either dreams or psychedelic experiences.
Okay. That's
where I think the idea of travel would come in. You travel through your dreams. It's not as crazy as it sounds. I mean, you know, even the military's looked into ideas like this, you know. Back in the 60s, they were doing astral projection experiments to see if they could astral project their soldiers into kind of the enemy's territory and spy, basically, astral projection spies. Because I think, you know, like when you dream, don't you feel that's like a little bit like astral projection when you dream?
Well, you're in a different place, a different time. Again, is it, you know, when you think or you experience deja vu because you dreamt something, were you travelling into the future? Were you travelling into a different time? You know,
I don't think it's future, because I don't actually think there is such a thing as future or present or past, rather.
Yeah.
Future or past. I think there is only now. I think consciousness only exists in the now. I don't think there is. The future and past don't exist. They're both possibilities.
So how would you explain deja vu then?
I would explain deja vu that it's a connection with an alternative universe.
And then it happens
in your now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
by that extension, then, all right. I don't know where I was going with that now. It's gone.
Deja vu. Well, right. So deja vu. I suppose it could be time based. I mean, in my book, I Am God. It talks about if you were to walk in a straight line through a field of barley, for example, it would be like a beautiful crop of barley that's not been disturbed, and you walk through it, and then you walk around the earth in a straight line. This is just a thought experiment. You come back round again, and you'd be walking through the same field of barley, but it would be different this time because you've been through it. So now when you walk through it, you're seeing the effects of the effect you had on it when you walked through it the first time. Yeah? But it would still feel like you'd been there before. That's the feeling I get with deja vu. It's like sometimes a feeling I've been here before. I've done this before.
Yeah.
There's something very familiar about
this place, this time.
Yeah, but it's not exactly the same.
No, it's funny because in my experience,
it's been exactly
the same, and it actually feels like, you know, in a movie where someone has either got a memory coming to them, you know, to their minds or something, and everything sort of just moves around them and blurs and sort of sucks them into this epiphany. That's what it feels like for me.
Deja vu.
Yeah, and it's sort of like everything around you is just like, hang on a second. Just this light bulb.
You know that sort of, again, discombobulated feeling?
Yeah.
Where you just don't quite feel like you're in the right space or time.
Yep.
That's how I've been feeling the last few days.
Yeah. And dreams will do that to you.
I've put that down to dreams, but I do wonder if there's something deeper going on there on a psychological level or even a quantum level.
It's possible.
You know, don't know.
It's possible.
I've been reading about quantum computing this week as well. As you know, with computers, going right back to valve computers, you know, the early valve computers, and this is translated through to silicon-based computers. They're binary-based, aren't they?
Yep.
So they work
zeros
on
and ones.
Yeah, either a switch is on or it's off, but it's not both. It's either on or off. That's it. And you can put a question to a computer, a formula. You can ask it to solve an equation or something like that. And the way it will work is it will do the ons and offs, the ones and the zeros. Yeah, and it will come up with an answer as to whether or not the equation works in that particular way. And it will say no, it doesn't. And then it will try another option.
Yep.
And it will come back, no, that doesn't work. Then it will try another one. You know, and each time it's kind of trying different permutations of an equation that you're trying to solve. And eventually it will come back and go, I found the answer to that. This works.
Yep.
You know, all the zeros, all the ones are all in the right place and we get a consistent answer to the equation. Google has got a computer now which is quantum based. So it's based on what they call qubits. I think it's QUBITS, something like that, qubits. It's so instead of silicon based computing, we're talking now it's got so small that you're actually using particles as switches. So you're talking about photons being used as switches, and other, you know, quantum particles being used to determine whether something's a 1 or a 0. But and in order to do this, they have to basically contain these very small particles in extremely low temperatures. Otherwise, they just fly off, and you know, because they're very energetic, these particles. So they have to slow, in a sense, they're slowing the system down in order to be able to manage it. This is how I understand it. But here's a weird thing, you know, with quantum physics, you know, the Schrodinger's cat example.
Yeah, it either is or isn't in there or alive.
Well, it's both.
Yeah.
So you get a box and you put a cat in a box and you put a particle that may decay, it may not decay, depending. And if it does, then it breaks a container of cyanide or something and it kills the cat. Mm-hmm. But from a quantum, you know, and you'd think, well, the cat is either dead or alive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's either dead or alive. But in the quantum physics model, like the cat is in both states.
Because you don't know which state it's actually in.
It's only when you actually open the box that an observation takes place of the particle, and then there's a waveform collapses, and the cat becomes either dead or is still alive. But up to that point, from a quantum perspective, both possibilities are true. I know, it's weird. It bends your head.
But it makes sense because you don't have a definitive answer until you actually see
an
it.
Observation is made. And the observation doesn't have to be a human observing it. It could be a camera observing it.
That's the part
that's
really
weird.
blows my mind.
Right, and that's sort of the basis to the two double...
Almost like, even though it's inanimate, it's still, the camera's inanimate. It's still an observer.
An observation or has been made. This is where the quantum computing gets really weird, because whereas in silicon-based computing you've got a 0 or a 1, in quantum computing it's a 0, a 1, or both, or neither.
Wow.
And whereas when you put an equation to a silicon-based or valve-based computer, it will run a possibility and come back with a yes or no. Then it will run another one, yes or no. Another one, yes or no. And eventually it will come back and go, I've found the answer.
Or the best probable answer.
In these quantum computing models, it does every possibility at once.
Wow.
So it's immediate. It just runs every possibility and comes back with an answer. This is where it gets really, really spooky. The fastest supercomputer on the planet, so this is a silicon-based supercomputer, compared to this new Google quantum computer, the Google computer can do a particular equation that they've thrown it in a few seconds that the supercomputer would take 47 years to solve.
No way.
I don't know what the equation is, but whatever it is, it's an equation... is a calculation that it puts to it, and it solves it in a few seconds as opposed to 47 years.
Would that be because the formula has already been answered previously, and so it's sort of
these are unknown answers that they're giving the computer.
Unknown questions that they're asking.
Unknown answers. Yeah, they put the question to it. And with the supercomputer, it has to work through each step of the process.
Wow.
Until it
this
arrives
AI
at an answer.
stuff and quantum stuff is...
You go and link that with AI as well. We're starting to get into some really scary areas, aren't we? You showed me a thing this week with Morgan Freeman.
Yes, a video where...
Morgan Freeman doing a video and audio, wasn't it?
It was a video with audio of Morgan Freeman.
But it wasn't Morgan
Freeman.
It was an AI.
And it actually said, even the picture is not Morgan Freeman. It's not even a picture of him.
And you wouldn't know.
He wouldn't know.
You would not know. A couple of other things I've read with the AI this week. There was an Instagram feed or a Twitter feed or something of a beautiful girl, and she's got something like 3.3 million followers. She doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
An AI-generated woman. Doesn't exist. That's getting really weird. And there was one I was reading about today, actually, where there's an artist, brilliant artist, who's just discovered that one of the AI programs that are out there has done like what they call scraping. It's scraping information from the web.
Right.
And it's scraped her pictures to use as a basis to create new art. So you can, for example, now go to this AI program and say, create me a book cover in the style of this particular artist. And it will create a completely new piece of art using her art as the algorithm. And she's not happy about it.
Oh, I can imagine. I don't blame her.
She says she feels like she's been violated insofar as like the art that she's created. She's got a relationship with that art. And now that relationship has been violated because it's now been reduced down to...
And who do you take to task on it?
I don't know.
It's AI.
I don't know.
There's no personal responsibility.
You can even get AI bots now where you can have like your own personal girlfriend or boyfriend to chat to and have a relationship with. Now,
I thought that was Hey Google, but you know.
Hey Google, yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, everything in the studios just started going going off.
Thank you for asking.
That's all right, Google. Thank you very much. Yeah, but it's getting weird, isn't it? And if you start getting into the realms of if you can start combining AI with quantum computing,
Yeah.
this is actually going to start getting more intelligent than humans.
Yep.
I mean, computers can already do calculations quicker than humans. I mean, that one that takes 47 years for that supercomputer to do, a human couldn't do it. They couldn't live long enough to do it.
No, that's right.
Yeah. But a quantum computer can do it in a few seconds. What are we creating?
Something beyond our control.
Something beyond our control.
Speaking about Schrodinger's cat, but you let the cat out of the bag and
yeah,
it's worked up enough.
The thing is, as well, I mean, can you imagine a world where maybe we created AI, silicon-based or quantum-based, and then humanity became extinct? Completely possible, and the AIs are still continuing.
That is true.
Especially if they're based, if they're solar-powered or whatever, or atomic-powered, and they continue to operate. Could those AI bots at some future point be developing a spirituality and starting to think, where did I come from? Who created me? Oh, there seems to be evidence that maybe, and we could become the gods that created the AIs. Maybe that's what we are.
But would be dead. So what was the point of that?
Yeah, well, maybe the gods that created us are dead. That's what I mean. It's like,
so it's not like we could be worshipped or they,
No, extraterrestrials, maybe that's all we are. Maybe we're just AI bots.
Maybe we are AI bots ourselves.
Version 1, and we're going to be superseded by version 2. That's flipping scary, I reckon. Yeah, and I think, when it comes to things like gods and extraterrestrials and all this sort of thing, I wonder whether or not that is actually a bleed through from other dimensions. Because we were talking this week about one of our friends has said that he's been talking to an ex-JW online, and there's been quite a few JWs apparently that have been waking up to it not being the truth, and also waking up to their spirituality, and they've apparently, I don't know anything about this, but apparently they've been seeing these like orb-like structures in the sky that have been moving very fast and some very small.
Day and night.
Day and night, apparently. And we're wondering what that is. Is it anything? Are they just going mad? Is it just weather balloons or?
Well, for fear of sounding like a crazy person.
Oh, don't worry. That's what this channel's all about.
I haven't seen the big flashing orbs, but I have seen the slow moving star.
Slow moving star.
And they're not flashing, so it's not like it's a
airplane or something like that.
Anything like that.
So it's a moving star.
A moving star, but it's not like a shooting star.
Oh, I wonder whether that was the moving star in the Jesus account.
Ooh.
With the men from the east that followed it.
But yeah, so it just takes this little, sedate movement sort of thing. But
so how often have you seen them? When did you last see one?
So the first time I saw one, I would have been 12. I was visiting a friend in the country, Victoria.
Okay.
And we were outside at night on their trampoline with blankets and pillows and just watching the stars, trying to see shooting stars. And there was
a shooting star moves very quickly, doesn't it? Okay.
Yeah. You can see it just going straight across the sky. This one in particular, it started moving quite slowly. It was like, oh, is that the beginning of a shooting star, like before it gets going? Or this is, mentality of a 12-year-old. And it was just moving nicely, and it nearly crashed. It looked like it was nearly going to crash into another star. And we were like, oh, look at that. And then it sort of went around the star and then, sort of avoided it and then continued on its way.
That's weird.
I was like,
Have you seen any recently?
And then recently would have been probably in the last 6 weeks ago. We had one of my best friends was visiting, and we said goodbye, and I was outside on the driveway, and I just happened to look up because the stars were coming out, and I managed to see. I think I saw three.
Three
of them. Yeah.
You should have called me and let me see it. You should have said,
I
come
was
out
just
and
like,
come out and see
that
this.
is.
Because I've never seen anything like that.
I didn't think anything of it until this friend of ours sort of pointed out, and then I saw the video of this person that
The one that
the friend
his friends pointed out, and you go, oh, that's what I've
and
seen.
I thought, that's what I was looking at.
That's strange, isn't it? So what's going on there? Is it some sort of extraterrestrial vehicle or
I don't know.
some
And
sort
then
of
I
spirit?
probably thought it
or-
might have been like a satellite or something, or in my mind,
satellites
I
don't
never
glow
thought,
like stars, do they? No.
I don't know.
You see, if you were to say to me, "Oh, I saw a UFO," I was walking down the road one night, a UFO appeared. I'd believe you.
Oh, well, I wouldn't be joking about it. If
No,
I said I
no.
saw it, I'd saw it.
And if I saw something like that, that would completely change my view of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. But like I said, I haven't seen the larger orb ones that flash.
Yeah.
That flash and disappear. Like, they move or they move quite fast. All I saw were the star-like
But
ones.
interesting that these sightings are being connected with people that have left Jehovah's Witnesses and are awakening to their spirituality.
Or maybe it's just a fulfillment of Matthew 24, where there would be signs in the heavens.
Oh, God. Signs
and
in
then
the
the end
heavens.
would come.
Then the end would come. We used to say that years ago, we used to translate that scripture as
The warplanes, wasn't
that
it?
it was referring to warplanes and Sputnik and all those sort of things. Yeah. And I remember the assembly where they changed it and they said it's going to be a literal celestial phenomena in the future.
So 1 minute in the scriptures, in that same chapter, everything's literal, and then it's figurative, and then the other part's figurative, and the other part's not literal, and the other part is.
Making it up as I go along, a bit like Elon Musk with Twitter. So, right, what have I got? That's kind of me being discombobulated this last week and feeling like I'm not in the right dimension at the moment. I feel really off, really weird, very strange. And
Mind you, you haven't been very musically creative this week either.
No.
We got the TV this week, and we've been
got a
spending
new
a
telly.
lot of time watching telly of an evening rather
Yeah, we've
than
been watching
being
telly, haven't
creative.
we?
So maybe your creative juices just haven't been flowing as much.
Yeah.
You've been stifled by
Could be that.
TV.
So we got a new telly, didn't we? You treated me to a new telly. Woohoo.
Woohoo!
And we've got ourselves a Blaupunkt. Is that how you pronounce
Yeah,
it?
I think so.
And it's all right, isn't it?
It's pretty good.
Pretty good for the money. Was it
Yeah.
about $450 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
That's like £250
55 inch.
in the UK. It's a 55-inch Ultra 4K TV, smart TV, for 250 quid. Can you believe it? That's from Officeworks. The prices are ridiculous there.
Great, isn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. But this new TV, I was watching it and I couldn't get into it at first. We were watching X-Men, the chronological first one, X-Men First Class, that one. I was watching it and it looked like a really crappy TV program. Didn't look like
A movie.
a movie.
Yeah.
I just thought, something not right with this. And I did a bit of research, and apparently it's because the films are not shot at the same frame rate as the TV is actually displaying it at natively. So the films are actually shot at a slower frame rate.
Okay.
Yeah, something like 24 frames a second or something like that. These Ultra 4K TVs, they run at a much higher frame rate than that. So what they do is they interpolation, I think it's called, something like that, additional frames. It basically works out what the frames should be in between.
Okay. Yep.
So it kind of like artificially inserts extra frames. And you end up with this like hyper-realistic image
Yeah.
on the screen, but it's so realistic it doesn't look like a film anymore. They call it the soap opera effect.
Yeah.
And could you tell or not? It just didn't look right, did it?
Because I've never seen the X-Men movies
You just thought
yet.
it was a crappy movie.
I just thought because it's based, in the 60s, that it was just sort of that ambient look.
Yeah.
Trying to
it was where it was artificially interpolating these.
Yeah, and then you
extra
change
frames.
the settings.
Yeah, so there's a setting. It's called motion smoothing on a lot of tellies, but on this Blaupunkt, it's called MEMC. If anyone's got a Blaupunkt telly and they're experiencing the same problem, MEMC. It's under Picture Settings Advanced, and you switch it off or lower the MEMC setting, I think it's called, and it reverts back to not quite as high definition, but it just feels more like a film. Then you're actually, because it was too hyper realistic, wasn't it? It was
almost like
you could see 3D. The pores in it.
Yeah, almost like a 3D effect without it being 3D.
Well, you could see the pores in their skin.
You could see everything.
You could see even I don't know if you noticed when we were watching Death in Paradise, Humphrey's jacket. You could actually see the weave in the jacket.
Yes.
And on the computer he was using, you could see the fingerprints on the computer screen.
You could see everything. Yeah, it was really, and
you'd think that would be really good. You'd think that would be a really good experience. Oh, super high realistic.
Yeah.
But it just took that
much.
kind of,
yeah,
that creative feel away from it. It didn't look like something you wanted to watch. Apparently,
too much detail.
Apparently, Tom Cruise, for all his Scientology nonsense, he's actually said something. I think I agree with him. He said that the films that he's creating, Dead Reckoning and what have you, he wants you to turn emotion smoothing off. He doesn't like it. He thinks it's awful, and I happen to agree. I think if you're watching something that's more sort of graphical, like a sci-fi movie or something like that, perhaps so. Some of the
CGI.
Or CGI, yeah, that's what I mean.
It would be great. Yeah, you'd want.
But even like we were watching the first Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes last night, it just didn't look right, did it?
No.
So I switched it off, and then it felt like a film again.
Better, yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, we've got our new TV, smart TV.
So maybe that's sort of been affecting.
Maybe, yeah, because this last week I've been pretty tired. I've not really been feeling very creative. I've just been exhausted.
Yeah, but we've not been going to bed at a decent time either.
That's true as well.
Because we've been watching things.
Because I've been watching the telly. Yeah.
So it could be a combination of things.
Let's get rid of the telly. Let's send the telly back. I think so. I want to talk about DMT for a little bit, because it ties in with some of these things. But before I do that, I just want to plug my book, if you can see it up here on screen. First Aid for Bipolar Disorder. So I wrote this book, First Aid for Bipolar Disorder. It's available on Amazon in Kindle and also in paperback, and it describes what bipolar disorder is. So there's two main types of bipolar disorder. There's type 1 and type 2. Bipolar, two poles, two extremes is basically what bipolar is. It used to be called Manic-Depression. You could either be depressed or manic, but the problem with that is not everyone goes manic. Some go what's known as hypomanic. It means just slightly under manic. You're edging towards mania, but not quite.
It's not full blown.
It's not full blown. So bipolar type 1 is the full on deep depression, followed by a real
high,
amazing manic to the point of psychosis kind of thing. And when we say depressed and manic, we don't necessarily mean sad or happy. That's not necessarily what we mean, although depressed often is accompanied with a deep, deep, deep sadness. It's more about a low energy level. So when you're in those depressed periods, you're in a low energy. When you're in the manic, it's like your energy levels are through the roof. Mentally, we're speaking here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you get like people that are experiencing full-blown mania, their brains are like, you know. There's a book, I shall just bring it up on screen. There is a book called Touched with Fire by Kay Redfield Jameson, and she links these manic periods and hypermanic periods to creativity. It's amazing. In fact, in the back of my book, I've got lists of people that are famous people that have had bipolar disorder. So you've got ones like Sinead O'Connor, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Russell Brand, apparently. These are all like really creative, inspirational people, aren't they? Carrie Fisher, from the Star Wars movies. Amy Winehouse, bless her.
Yep.
She had it. Winston Churchill had it. And he ran a war.
Yeah.
He had bipolar disorder. Vincent van Gogh.
No surprise.
No surprises there. Stephen Fry. He's got bipolar. He's got bipolar type 2, I believe, which is what I've got, which is the depressions are very deep. So I get those very low periods where I can feel incredibly sad during depression, but it tends to be more of just
physical, weak top.
Not even edgy. It's not edgy.
Fatigue.
It's the opposite. Yeah, just numb, sort of, you know. Whereas Stephen Fry gets the hypomanic episodes where it's like he's got this full-on energy, and it's not. You can't say that he's completely raving nuts when he's got it. He's not like gone the full-on manic, lost touch with all reality. It's more like the energy pushes your brain to places where your body can't keep up. So you're creating, you're painting, you're writing, you're writing songs, you're writing plays, you're doing all this stuff, and your body just can't keep track with the way your brain's going. And then, of course, ultimately you have a crash. Yeah, you know. So you tend to. This is why bipolar is this. It's you get these ups followed by a crash, and then you get this low downs, and then you go up, and then you're down again. And this is the book Touched with Fire. It's like during those up periods, it's like you're being touched by something that's outside of your reality. It's almost a spirituality. This is why I've said that, you know, these days we get medicated for bipolar. Yeah. We say, well, it's not normal. But if you were in one of these sort of tribal situations from the past, Aborigines or Native Americans, the person with these polar opposites that is sort of goes into these deep spiritual creative periods would be viewed as the community sage or something, wouldn't they? Yeah. Same with bipolar, not bipolar, bisexual. Yes, Native Americans viewed them as something very special. Very spiritual and very special, yeah. People that were bisexual, people that were transgender. Yeah. Two-spirit, I think they call them. Two-spirit. The two-spirit. Which is probably why sort of, you know, the ones with the bipolar sort of aspects as well would be viewed as, like I said to you earlier, it's like you've got two versions of me in one. You've got got value for money. Yeah. Now the thing is, it can be disruptive. You know, like bipolar type 1, you can go from, you know, not wanting to get out of bed for 6 months to thinking that you're Jesus and you can fly. Yeah. You know, that's, you know, you're running up the streets naked sort of thing. You know, I'm glad you don't have that. I don't have type 1, no. I have type 2. I feel very sorry for people who experience that. Those extremes. Well, this is. I wonder whether Van Gogh probably had type 1, because you don't just cut your ear off for no reason, do you? No. You know. No. So yeah, Stephen Fry. Let me read a couple more names out. You tell me if this surprises you. Mel Gibson. No. Spike Milligan. I don't know who that is. Spike Milligan, famous British comedian from the Goon Show with Harry Seacombe and Peter Sellers.
No.
I'll have to show you some Spike Milligan. If you see him, you just go, yeah,
Okay.
he's bipolar. Marilyn Monroe.
That's a surprise.
Is that a surprise? Frank Sinatra.
That's a surprise.
Britney Spears.
That's not a surprise.
Not a surprise. You know when she cut all her hair off?
Yeah.
I was thinking that's a hypermanic episode. Something not. Well, is it quite right? Maybe it's not an illness. Maybe it's just a experience in extremes. I don't know.
I think she was trying to tell the world what she was
She
feeling.
had a message
by making herself look different.
Well, all these prophets in the Bible, you know, like the Ezekiels and the Johns, you know, and they're sort of all off on visions and trances and laying on their side for 400 odd days, you know, staring at a brick and all these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
If there was any reality to any of those stories, you know, were they mental or was it some sort of spiritual portal that was opening up to them? Or
John the Baptizer. You know, he was wearing animal skins and
eating locusts in the desert.
And bugs in the desert. Like, how anybody took him seriously, considering...
But this is what I'm saying, the weirdos were the prophets.
Yeah, that's it.
The weirdos were the ones that, they're a little bit different, aren't they? You know, these days, we're not so much prophets, we're creatives. It's the singers and the actors and the comedians, particularly comedians. How many comedians, you know, got this deep, deep sadness in them?
Yeah.
And yet, I was watching that. What was that Steve guy, the Aussie?
Oh, I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name.
Steve something.
Stephen something. Doing a show about suicide the other night and how he tried to kill himself.
Yeah.
How can you make that funny?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not funny, but you know, to someone with bipolar disorder, it wouldn't surprise me if he's not got bipolar disorder. Apparently, 1 in 100 people have got bipolar disorder.
Wow.
So it's not a rare condition. You know, Ludwig van Beethoven.
That doesn't surprise me.
And Ruby Wax, the comedian.
No idea who that is.
Ruby Wax, yeah. Doesn't particularly surprise me. There's a mild form of bipolar disorder called cyclothymia. We've got Aposta babe Linda James come on.
Hi, Linda.
Hello, Linda. Let me just see if I can bring up this. I've turned the chat on, so if anyone posts anything, it'll just pop up on the screen, I hope. Aposta babe Linda James says, 2 spirits and shamans, medicine men.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's Willems was bipolar? Willems? Willems?
Willems.
Who was Willems, Aposta babe Linda James? My nan had a cat called Willems. I don't think that was bipolar. But yeah, there's cyclothymia, which is a milder form of bipolar where you don't get quite as depressed and you don't get quite as high. And there's also what's known as rapid cycling, which I've had in the past, which is where you can literally go from deep depressed to super high within hours. Loveles, Loviles, says Aposta babe Linda James. Still doesn't ring a bell. Can you look that up for me, Mariella? Who was Willems? Yeah. So depression, all these sort of things. Now, I'm medicated for my bipolar, and I don't know if that's a good thing. In some respects it is, because I don't get the huge swings so much now. I don't get really as low as I used to. but I also don't get as high as I used to. And it's when I was higher that I used to produce so much of my creative content.
Yes, but you have to remember too that those highs end up causing a crash.
They do.
So
that's the problem.
That balance.
That's the problem. Yeah.
So I think medication has a role, plays a really good role, but then it depends on how medicated you are. You don't want to.
Is that because
blanket it completely.
Is that though because the world and the life that we live now, these highs and lows aren't conducive to the life we live now. You know, you're expected to get up and go to work and
I suppose,
do all this sort of thing. Whereas, like in the past, if you were a shaman in a tribe, you know, you weren't under those pressures. If you sort of had a week where you were off your head on, you know, a trance or something like that, you've not got a boss ringing up saying, "Where are you? Are you?"
That's true. But then if you've got...
I wonder if we're medicating the spirituality away. Which is what, was it Hasty Chicken Ball shit? What's his name now? I can never remember it. Chicken Man.
Oh,
I don't even know if it's a man. Hasty Chicken Ball. Hello, if you're out there. We love your tweets.
We do. Yeah, so he or she, they tweeted, "It's worth noting," or posted on X social, "It's worth noting that the time of broad criminalisation of psychedelic plants marks the end of a very long era of people that believed in magic, people who believed in gods and in monsters and in the unending spirit. We stopped worshipping, but we also stopped searching and evolving."
It's a very...
enlightened.
Yes, very enlightened statement. So what's he talking about, or she talking about? Are they... what are they talking about? Times when back in the past, we're talking about sort of tribal people again, where they used to take psychedelic, probably natural drugs.
Yeah.
And these are now things that are legislated against. And ever since we've brought in legislation against these things, and people are not having these psychedelic or, you know, call them spiritual experiences or whatever, it's become more of a secular society.
That's correct. More controlled. More dulled spiritually. Yeah.
See, I'd like to just talk for a few minutes about DMT, because we were talking about this on the way home from the shops today, weren't we? Mm-hmm. So DMT is a drug, which it's at its base, it's actually a natural occurring plant-based psychedelic called ayahuasca, if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Ayahuasca. Okay. Ayahuasca is a plant-based psychedelic. It's a decoction, a concentrated liquid made by prolonged heating or boiling of the Banisteriopsis capi vine with the leaves of the Psychotria viridis shrub. So they take these two plants that I've just butchered the names of, and they heat and boil them down into this concoction. Yeah. And the active chemical in ayahuasca is DMT, dimethyl tryptamine.
Terephthalate?
DMT. So DMT is illegal, for example, in the UK, Australia, America, quite a few countries. DMT is illegal because it's illegal, even though ayahuasca is a naturally occurring plant-based psychedelic. You can't have that either because it contains DMT.
Well, it's like marijuana. In Australia, you can't. Yeah. You're not supposed to own a marijuana plant.
But the interesting thing is these plants have been used by native people for years in their religious experiences. So I found a bit of information on this. So DMT, hallucinogenic drug that occurs in plant species. It can be made in a lab, synthesized into like a white crystal, which you can either inhale or inject. It's known as the spiritual molecule. Is another name for it, DMT.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? It's also known as the 45-minute psychosis, which brings me back to this idea, like bipolar, when you're having a psychotic episode.
It could last.
Well, it could last 6 months. You know, you could, terrible periods some people have, but it's like, we say it's an illness, but is it? Is it? Are these psychotic episodes that people have? Or is it something spiritual that's happening here?
I think it depends on how it affects other people, to be honest.
Well, that's often the case, isn't it?
You know, if they're going off thinking that they're
Jesus and fly, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's probably
or
not.
thinking that they can heal people. Or
well, what's wrong with thinking you can heal people? You know, maybe you can when you're in that state.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just think it's. No, I mean, I've got to say just at the outset here, talking about DMT, that I'm not recommending DMT.
No, that's
but when you read through the side effects and the flipping risks and all sorts of things, it can be life-threatening. Yeah. You could take DMT and end up killing yourself. Yeah. Plus, it's illegal. So I'm not recommending DMT, but I just find it really interesting that there are these kind of tribal people, even today, in their religious ceremonies that are boiling these plants down. They make it into like a tea, which if I was to ever take it, I would take it as in a tea light. I wouldn't want to be injecting or...
I could imagine you taking a sip of it going, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, well, I tried a Twinings the other day.
Twinings Lady Grey.
A Twinings Lady Grey. Oh, it's a horrible thing. So DMT, when you take it, you get floating feelings, hallucinations. No surprise there, but this was interesting. You can get an altered sense of time and depersonalization. So that's interesting, isn't it? Depersonalization. You don't actually feel that you're you anymore.
You're right, who you are.
Did you were mentioning over dinner this evening, this is the sort of thing we talk about. You said about anesthetic, whether or not that's...
Yeah,
Did you manage to find anything on that? If there's anyone listening that knows anything about anaesthetic, is there anything in anaesthetic that is similar to DMT? Because when you're on anaesthetic, you do actually sometimes get an out-of-body experience.
That's right. That was the line of thought that we were discussing at dinner. When you, well, not you have or I have, but where people say that they see either heaven or other creatures or other people under anaesthetic. And so it just got me thinking, well, I wonder if there's any correlation chemically between DMT and anaesthetic. And if there is, maybe it's a specific way of a person individually metabolizes.
Or even if it's not the same drug, the same effects seem to be experienced for some people under anaesthetic.
And what it is that makes some people experience it and not others.
Yes, like my ex-wife, mm-hmm. which is why Twitter being named to X is so triggering. Mm. You don't want a social network called X. Goodness me, it either sounds like a porn site or reminds you of your ex partner, doesn't it? But my ex, when she had I think it was our first child, she was given some really strong anaesthetic when she was giving birth. And she swears that she left her body and she was on the ceiling looking down at her body in labour.
Wow.
I have no reason to doubt that at all, you know. But yeah, it can be quite dangerous, especially if you've already got a pre-existing mental health condition like bipolar. If you start fiddling around with DMT and you've already got a condition that sort of opens up those portals anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I've got this here, the Imperial College of London. Some while ago, I think this was who it was. They put out a request for volunteers to come and take DMT in a laboratory environment, and I actually registered for it because I thought if I was ever going to do DMT, I would want to do it safely, legally, and it would need to be in an environment where if it went wrong, because you can have a really bad trip with DMT apparently.
Okay.
There was somebody there.
Yeah.
You weren't just on your own in a bedsit somewhere, you know. And I actually applied for that. I said, yeah, you know, but I did tell them that I had bipolar disorder, and I wasn't selected. Yeah. But that makes sense now. It makes sense they would have. So that they actually ended up testing 20 healthy volunteers with DMT. They found it had increased connectivity across the brain.
Wow.
So more areas of the brain were connected with other areas of the brain. Imagination was triggered, the areas of the brain that work with imagination. So you're now talking dreams. This kind of, those sort of areas was triggered. And they actually did track the brain activity. The doctor that was running it at Imperial College London said this work is exciting as it provides the most advanced human neuroimaging view of the psychedelic state to date. So I thought that was quite interesting that it was the imagination area that was particularly triggered.
I wonder.
What do you wonder?
This is going to sound horrible, and this is my experimental brain talking here. If they were to put a small amount of it in vaccinations,
yeah,
how that would affect populations?
Probably all be walking around having trips. Because one of
like from a spiritual perspective.
Well, maybe people would all start being spiritual again.
If that would shift the...
Oh, don't doubt it. I think...
Because you only need one experience.
The thing with the DMT as well is it some people are predisposed to becoming addicted to it, so there is a danger there. But for most people, they're not. It's not an addictive drug. So they'll take the DMT, they'll have the trip, they'll see what they see, and then that's it. It just stays with them for the rest of their life. And the things that they're seeing, I've got a picture I'm just bringing up on screen here. There seems to be a theme where they see these like little grey men. And sometimes they get scared. The people having the trip feel really scared. And it's really discombobulating again. But more often than not, they say there's an overwhelming feeling of love and that these grey men are wanting to reach out and connect with us. And this is where I'm sort of saying, are we accessing the same sort of thing again through dreams, through DMT, through bipolar experiences where you have these like super spiritual experiences where people can have hallucinations and is it something, is it just the brain doing a weird thing, or is there actually something out there in an extra dimension that you're actually opening some portal up to it?
I do believe there's more to dreams than what we allow ourselves to think.
Well, you see, some people have experimented with psychedelics. I mean, my friend Chris has a lot to say about psychedelics. Very interesting on the subject. I never have, and it's not something I would personally recommend. But then I've also gone down the route that dreams are a way for me to experience my spirituality and explore my spirituality, But it's a little bit difficult because you've got to know what the dream means.
Yes, and you've got to remember what the dream is.
Remembering the dream is.
Look up what,
I'm actually very good with that now.
You're
as soon as I wake up, I remember what I've dreamt.
I'm hopeless.
But a lot of people dream and then just forget it.
Yeah.
Apostle Babe Linda James says, remember that a JW family in Canada. She remembers a JW family in Canada that drank some tea and thought, let me just pull this up a minute. Remember that JW family in Canada that drank some tea and thought Armageddon was here and then kidnapped their neighbours and were arrested while nude.
What?
Was that a real thing? Or was that...
Wow.
Was that not... Did the Lego guy, the guy that does the Lego parodies, did he not do a Lego sketch about that happening? I think he did.
Kevin McFree.
Kevin McFree. Yeah.
Did he? I don't know.
I think so. I vaguely seem to remember a little Lego sketch where they did that.
Oh, I don't know. No, that's the first
I'll go and look that up afterwards. But yeah, no, Apostle Babe, I do not know who this JW family in Canada was that drank some tea. It was some funny tea by the sound of it. That wasn't Twinings.
It wasn't My Lady Grey.
Twinings. Is it Twinings or Twinings?
Twinings, one N.
Yeah, so it's apparently DMT has been used for centuries in religious ceremonies in several South American cultures. And it is still out there in a synthetic form, but like I say, for most places it's you're looking at something that is illegal now. Doesn't last very long, apparently. About 45 minutes to an hour.
That's what I mean. I mean, if you dosed up small dosage in every vaccination that was given, would that result in a more open-minded population
I think
on
it would.
the earth?
I think it probably would.
A more spiritually minded population on the earth?
I think so.
A more loving population?
So is that what we're suggesting? Is that what we're suggesting?
Well, we could always give it a go. I mean,
is that what we're saying? We're reckoning that we should...
Just a small dose. Doesn't have to be a full trip.
Is,
but just a small dose.
What they should do...
help. It might help with the state of the world. Who knows?
Right.
Because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
That's basically us coming to an end. Not a literal end. Just an end of a show. So what do you think? Dreams... are dreams a portal to the other side?
I think in some instances, yes.
Yeah, I think they might be. DMT, even though it's illegal...
We should all be given a chance to try it once.
We should all be given a chance to try it. In tea form.
In tea form.
DMT tea bags. And interdimensional travel.
Daniel and Mariella Torrington.
Tea bags. We'll start releasing a range of DMT tea bags. Interdimensional travel, is it true?
I think there's a possibility. Again,
yeah,
with
I
the
think
dreams.
so. Right, that's us. Thanks for joining us. Call us again soon. Bye.
Bye.